Hey there, I'm Professional Psychic Karen Marie, and this is Psyched-Up Sundays for April 30th, 2023. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me. Make sure you check out my daily Psyched Updates where I channel, I stare at the astrology in the morning, and I see what transits pop out to me as most important for that day. I draw a tarot card, I channel all that, and keep it all within 1 minute. I post that here on this channel. I also post it on my professional and personal Facebook pages, Instagram, and TikTok. And I've got the details for all those below, so make sure you check those out. I also want to let you know that I'm going to be combining efforts with Liv Topfer, who is an amazing yoga instructor and psychic herself. And we're going to be teaming up and doing some psychic development workshops. The first one will be June 10th. Then we'll have one in July and another one in August. So I'll be putting up more details about that. But if you're interested in a psychic development workshop, which will be held out in Wimberley at Liv's beautiful property out there. She's got an amazing yurt and just lovely land out there, 5 acres. So we're going to be doing it out there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The first one will be June 10th. So if you want more details about that, contact me and we'll be putting up a flyer and sending out more information about that soon. But I wanted to go ahead and let you know that. Okay, this video is for the transits for this upcoming week, and boy, do we have an intensive week on tap, as if it hasn't been intensive enough. We've had Mercury retrograde. Mercury went retrograde on April 21st. It will stay retrograde until Mother's Day, May 14th. So we're still swimming through the Mercury retrograde. Classic Mercury retrograde symptoms have been showing up in my life. Have they been showing up in yours? Miscommunication, not getting that email, not getting those texts, missing the phone calls, having computer glitches. My computer was out for 3 days this last week. Phone technology issues, transportation and car. I had some glitchy stuff going on with my car as well. Lots of accidents on the road because people are up in their head and they're not paying attention to their driving. So make sure you give yourself plenty of space and time anytime you're going anywhere in your vehicle. Be extra alert and paying attention to the people that aren't around you. Recheck your messages, your phone calls, your email, how you want to say something. Check in with someone. It's like, let me see, did I hear you say this? And repeat back to them what you think you've heard them say and check out if that was correct or not. These are all great things to do anyway, but especially during Mercury retrograde. So tomorrow, and Mercury's been retrograde in Taurus, just FYI. It started at 15 degrees of Taurus. It'll go back to 5 degrees. Right now, as I'm recording this, it is at 12 degrees. What's very interesting about this is that Jupiter, which is at the last degrees of Aries right now, Jupiter will move into Taurus on the 16th of May. But in September 4th to be exact, Jupiter will go retrograde from 15 degrees back to 5 degrees, this exact same space in the sky. So we're learning every time a planet goes retrograde, there's something for us to review, to look at within ourselves. When Mercury goes retrograde, it's a time to rethink, review, reconsider, go back over things we've said, go back over how we're talking to ourselves even, like what are our internal processes. It's also classic for past life people to come into our lives around Mercury retrogrades, or relationships from the past to resurface somehow, some way in our lives. So Jupiter will go retrograde in this exact same degrees in the sky, which is super duper interesting. And Jupiter expands things and makes things bigger. So Mercury, when it goes backwards all the way back to 5 and then goes back forward again, it'll have tracked back this place of the skies, going from 5 to 15, 15 back to 5, then 5 back to 15 again. Jupiter's going to do the exact same thing. So it's going to come back and reinforce whatever we're learning right now during Mercury retrograde. We're also between eclipses. We had that new moon solar eclipse already a couple weeks ago. This week we have a full moon lunar eclipse. That happens on Friday. So between eclipses is when the veil between the worlds is the thinnest, and it can feel very strange, very wiggy. Like, I've had a wig out week, not the whole week, but some pieces in this last week. I had to call my acupuncturist up and say, I need to be on your table. I need to get my chi flowing and centered, because I just felt like, oh, just out of whack. So that is so common. I've talked to people who are extra depressed, extra anxious because of this eclipse energy. Also, what could be heightening this is that Pluto is stationing to turn retrograde tomorrow on Monday the 1st. So when the outer planets stop to turn around, go forward or backwards in the skies, they slow down and they're their most potent self. So Pluto, representing death and transformation, power and control issues. Pluto is Lord of the underworld too. It's the ruler of Scorpio. It'll be the ruler of this eclipse because this eclipse will be in Scorpio. So Scorpio is the deep dark waters, and it tends to dredge up the deeply buried psychological debris. So if you've had some of that coming up and you don't know why you're feeling funky, or old feelings about yourself have been surfacing, all that can be stirred up with this eclipse energy, and also with this Pluto stationing to turn around. Not only does it turn retrograde, which is actually a bit of a relief, it then turns the energy more internal. But it can illuminate secrets being revealed. It can also reveal your deepest fears. And another thing that Pluto, when it goes retrograde, can just really show you what you've been hiding from yourself, right? And so on the world stage too, we can see what's been hidden, right, from public view. And it doesn't move very much, even though it's retrograde for the whole month. Like, it'll start retrograde tomorrow at 0 degrees and 22 minutes. It's at 0 degrees of Aquarius, dipped into Aquarius for the first time in 250 years. So it's carving out new turf, new territory. And it will go back at the end of the month. It's at 0 degrees and 10 minutes. It only moves 12 minutes this entire month. So it's basically still at a standstill. So it's really can feel intensive this month with the Pluto energy, churning up stuff, showing power and control issues up in your life, in the world around us. Are you empowering yourself? Are you plugging into your higher self? Are you utilizing spiritual practices to access your own higher self and access the divine within you? Breath work, meditation, chanting, soaking in the tub, walking in the woods, staring at a fire, praying, whatever you do to access your higher self and the divine, up it. And do it more, and do it more frequently. You're going to need it. And when you're plugged in spiritually, you can navigate the vicissitudes of what's going on astrologically, what's going on in the world, because what's going on with the planets influences us. It doesn't cause things to happen. It just sets an influence, much like the weather. When it's sunny, there's a certain influence that we have. When it's thunderstorms, there's a different, thing that we all feel when the weather is kind of yanky. So the same thing when the planets, when they're in a harmonious place, we can feel better. We can feel more positive. And when they're kind of in conflict with each other, then we can feel like that. So that's why I love knowing about the transits and paying attention and just noticing. And I invite you to just pay attention and notice. The easiest thing to do is to notice what goes on in your life, in your personal life, and the world around you as the moon moves through different signs. The moon takes 2.5 days to move through a sign. Do you notice a shift in energies when the moon changes signs? what's going on, because the moon moving through the different signs represents different aspects in our life. For example, right now the moon is in Virgo. Virgo is a sign that's attention to detail. It's a good time to get things organized and set up systems and clean things out and make plans and help other people and get healing work. Virgo can be attention to detail to the extent of being perfectionistic, so you can find out that you're too hard on yourself. And as the moon's moving through Virgo, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is retrograde, so that can throw a whole nother piece in the whole chain, and everything's reacting against and off of each other. We are all interacting with each other. You can feel it when you're around someone positive, it brings your energy up. And when you're around someone toxic or negative, you're like, oh, you can want to avoid that person, or all of a sudden you feel funky. We affect each other. So the more you can bring in a positive energy to your daily life, for yourself primarily, but also for the world around you, you're helping everyone. Spiritual practices raises your vibration, helps the collective raise the collective vibration, and helps us all feel better about our lives. I believe everyone is psychic. We all have intuitive abilities. We all have psychic abilities. So when you are tapped in and listening to how your abilities show up for you, and they're different for everybody. Just think of all the senses, and all the psychic abilities show up in a heightened sense way. Some people are extra visual. Some people can hear things, right? Some people can smell smells, feel things in their body. There's all kinds of psychic abilities, and so everyone has different abilities. So it's important to know how your own system speaks to you and is giving you messages. Where do you notice in your physical body things? Like, one basic thing is when something is positive or you're supposed to be doing something, there can be this openness and an excitement within. When it's a no, you can feel closed down, shut down, blocked. So, just tapping into your physical body. Do you feel open and expanded with the idea of that? Does it make you feel closed off or shut down? That's a basic sort of yes or no thing you can do to tune in to yourself and get your own inner wisdom. Your psychic abilities, your intuition is the voice of your higher self. And your higher self always wants to communicate to you the best path for your life, right? You don't have to battle with your intuition. Our logical, rational mind is made up of everything we've learned, everything we've been told, all the programming we've run. We're little mini computers. So we are taught in this society that the mind is king. The more things you learn, the more initials you have after your name, the better your life is. Really, the mind is the biggest obstacle to tapping into the intuition. So when Mercury's retrograde, there can be benefits in that, because sometimes people who are logical, rational will feel more intuitive. People who are more intuitive can feel themselves get more logical, rational. It's one way Mercury retrograde can show up. So tomorrow at 12:08 p.m. and the times that I give you and the dates that I give you, you can feel things before they happen. Like this Pluto turning retrograde, I've been feeling it all week. This upcoming eclipse, I've been feeling that all week too. We can feel aspects before they hit. We can feel them afterwards, particularly eclipses, which are portal points. It's where the story gets sped up. It's like we leapfrog through space. We can jettison our life forward on our evolution. People will come into our lives around eclipses that are important to our lives. Important relationships will end, and people will exit our lives as well around eclipses. So I notice that every time there's an eclipse, new people will come into my life. There's also usually relationships that are ending around eclipses. This is all important. The people that are supposed to be in your life will be. The people that aren't are going to be leaving. And Pluto in particular has a lot to do with soul contracts, because Scorpio is also about past lives. So it's like, okay, people that you've set up a contract to do work together in this lifetime, you can re-find each other and you can resonate and know when you're connecting with someone that you feel like you've known before, like you feel drawn to them, you feel pulled to them. We could also dive into your chart in a private reading, and we can compare your chart with someone else's chart and look at specific indicators that would indicate past life connections. So that's one of the things I love about astrology. There are so many things, and there's so many rabbit holes that you can go down in astrology. It is so much more than what your sun sign is. It's really important to know where your moon is, also your rising sign or ascendant, and that is determined by the time and place that you were born. If you don't know your time, you won't know your rising sign, and that's an important piece. And it's the rising sign is what places all the planets in all the houses. So it's a really important piece. There's some astrologers that think the most important thing in your chart is where your north and south nodes are. The north node is what your soul came in to learn. The south node is what your soul came in to clear out and release. So, different astrologists, a lot of astrologers get really into the asteroids and what those mean in your chart. So there's all kinds of, like I said, all kinds of rabbit holes you can go down in astrology. All right, so at 12:08 p.m. Austin, Texas time, factor in changes in time for wherever you are, that's when Pluto will station to go retrograde. So Pluto's been an important player anyway. At the last eclipse, it was squaring this new moon solar eclipse that was at the very last degree, very last minutes of Aries. And so it was squaring Pluto and conjunct the nodes of fate. And Pluto will stay squaring the nodes of fate until like November of this year. It's not exact, it's a few degrees off. In July is when it's going to be exactly squaring the nodes of fate. And squares are contentious relationships. It's like, hold up, stop, you need to reevaluate. So we're all under this pressure with Pluto, which is the excavation crew, of excavating all the debris in our lives, external as debris in our lives that we do not need. What's internal that we do not need? Old belief systems, old ways of thinking, old ways of feeling about yourself, old habits, old behaviors that have to go. They're going to be coming to a head. Things that we're supposed to be learning, our life needs to learn. Spiritual practices are paramount in that. Valuing ourselves. We're going to be there's no way to turn except to do your work right now. Or people are going to be diving in to avoidant mechanisms. What are those? Addictions. To avoid dealing with what's happening. It's so intensive. Lots of people are checking out, consuming way too much food, alcohol, drugs, gambling, online video games, whatever it is that you do to check out. You can, if you find yourself being pulled into that, just know you're not the only one, but try to recenter yourself and do something positive for your life. Again, do some spiritual practice time, take a walk, do something productive, throw yourself into productive forward movement, and you can better work with this intensive energy. If you just try to sit and grin and bear it though, and just do your daily groove, you're going to feel really wiggy if you're paying attention. If people are not noticing this, they are completely asleep. That's what I have to say, because everybody that I know that's awake and conscious knows that we're in intensive transformational times right now for the next several years. But this year in particular is super intensive because of the squaring of Pluto and the nodes of fate. And Pluto was squaring this last eclipse, and this last eclipse was about kicking something new off and running, getting something new started in your life. This lunar eclipse this week is going to be about endings, closing it up, let it go, pitching stuff, getting rid of things. It's a great time to clean house and clear out clutter and debris. So if you've been wanting that project, do that right now, this week. Write your list of things that you need to release in your life. Full moons can bring out emotional intensity, right? Because the moon's, there's a reason for the word lunatic. It comes out of when the moon, Luna, is full, and it brings up people's emotions, especially in Scorpio, which is the deep dark waters. And then you have the eclipse on top of that. Not only that this eclipse, which a full moon is when the sun and moon are opposite in the sky. So the sun will be in Taurus, moon will be in Scorpio at 14 degrees and 58 minutes. And it's exact at 12:34 p.m. on Friday the 5th. That's when the full moon lunar eclipse is at its apex. So it's in the middle of the day, so we probably won't see it here in North America. But the sun will be at the 14 degrees and 58 minutes. Moon's at 14 degrees and 58 minutes, almost 15 degrees of Scorpio. The sun at those same degrees of Taurus. Uranus is at 18 degrees. It's going to be just a few degrees off of that. So it's conjunct Uranus, the great awakener that loves to throw sudden, unexpected curveballs. Again, if these eclipse isn't intensive enough being in Scorpio, and it's the last one we'll have in Scorpio, probably for another 18 years. They go in cycles. We had 2 last year in the Taurus Scorpio pairings. They go back and forth. So this is the last one in Scorpio, so it's wrapping up the lessons. The first one we had was in May of last year. So you might even think about, what was I doing in May of last year? What's been happening since then? What did I start clearing out, releasing? This is like the final clearing it out, this one. And again, we keep feeling the residuals of these eclipses for some time to come. All right, let me just go drill down day to day. Monday, Pluto's going retrograde at 12:08 p.m. At 6:27 p.m., the sun will be conjunct Mercury retrograde. So the sun illuminates, so it's going to be shining the light on what it is that we're supposed to be learning with this Mercury retrograde, right? And shining the light on what are we thinking? How are our conversations going? So that'll be a nice check-in time. A conjunction with the sun is usually a positive event. It magnifies, but it's going to be magnifying Mercury retrograde. So we may feel more of the Mercury retrograde stuff going on Monday. And again, with Pluto stationing, it may be hard to discern what's the wiggy energy, because Pluto is like turning the Titanic around, and then the sun conjunct Mercury retrograde. And then late in the evening, just before evening, Juno, which is an asteroid that represents who and what we commit to, it moves into Gemini, that is ruled by Mercury as well. So lots of ideas about who and what you want to commit to, lots of choices, a lot of communications and dialogue. Gemini rules social media, communications, all that kind of stuff. I want to stop and say something that I thought was interesting about the first week of Mercury retrograde. Right after Mercury went retrograde, we had 2 news agencies, Fox News and CNN, both firing their main people. That's a Mercury retrograde thing, because Mercury rules social media and media of all kinds. So the fact that those went backwards, we had that eclipse going on that was scoring Pluto, which is about death and transformation. I thought that was interesting too, just like a Mercury retrograde. Isn't that a Mercury retrograde event? With Pluto thrown in, power and control, with things shifting and changing. Okay, so all right, then on Tuesday at 1:08 a.m., the moon moves from Virgo into Libra. Libra is the scales of justice. It's also about relationship. It's ruled by Venus. So as the moon moves through Libra, we can be more focused on relationships, also on issues of justice and fairness. And justice and fairness issues, legal news, that kind of stuff can really be highlighted when the moon moves through Libra. And we certainly have had a lot of legal news in recent history. Pallas Athena moves into Leo at 11:56 a.m. on Tuesday. Now, Pallas Athena is an asteroid. She came out of Zeus's let me get my lisp out of the way. Zeus's head, fully armed, ready for battle. So she's like the general on the battlefield. She can do strategic planning. She also, interesting enough, does sewing and weaving. So she's like can be like about crafts and creativity. So with Pallas moving into Leo, Leo is a sign of creativity and romance and play. So there could be this desire to like set up and plan a party or plan some creative projects with Pallas Athena moving through Leo, starting with her movement into Leo on Tuesday. I always like to pay attention to when planets or asteroids change signs as well, because there's a shift in energies and you can just kind of feel it, almost like there's a shift in the winds, or now we're getting a cold front, now we're getting a warm front, that kind of thing. There can be a shift of energies. At 2:38 p.m., Juno, that has just moved into Gemini, will be trining. This is a positive connection with Pluto. So there can be some commitments made that feel positive, like you may decide to commit to a relationship, a person, a plan, a routine that can be transformative for your life. Pluto about transformation. So that's Tuesday. On Wednesday the 3rd at 9:30 a.m., Pallas Athena in Leo will be opposite Pluto in Aquarius. So that can set up, again, this transforming, where I'm going to put my energies. What am I going to organize? I'm going to organize creative stuff. I'm going to get my instruments out and play them. I'm going to get my art supplies, my paints out. I'm going to do that. I plan a party. Like all that could be brought and even more intensified with the opposition to Pluto on Wednesday with Pallas Athena and Pluto. On Thursday the 4th, the moon at 9:32 a.m. moves into Scorpio. Again, that's when people can be extra moody. Any of the water signs, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, when the moon moves through the water signs, we can all feel extra emotional. We can also feel extra psychic because the water signs are very heightened psychic abilities usually. So if you've got planets or points in Cancer, in Pisces, in Scorpio, you probably already feel pretty psychic. Let's see, at 12:40 p.m., Venus in Gemini is squaring Neptune in Pisces at 26 degrees. So this can feel like Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. On a positive end, Neptune connects us in spiritually to the divine, to spirit guides, to any psychic spiritual connections. On the downside, it can be about illusion, delusion, addiction, fuzzy thinking, wanting to check out. So the square has a tendency to bring out the worst in things. Venus represents love and relationships, also money and finances. So you can find where you've been kind of maybe delusional in your thinking about finances, or you haven't been paying enough attention, or even relationships where you haven't really been paying attention, or you're like just like, I don't know, like there can be this fuzziness. That's not going to last long. That's at 12:40 p.m. on Thursday the 4th, because at 11:02 p.m. later that evening, Venus will be trining Jupiter, which brings out the best in Venus things. So there could be this almost like manic bipolar energy with Venus energies, love, relationships, money, and finances on Thursday. It can go from going, oh, wait, what? I can't see clearly, to like, ooh, I'm in harmony. This love is great. This new relationship's fabulous. Oh, I just bought a scratch off and won it. I would wait and buy your lotto tickets later in the evening on Thursday if you're going to do that. On Friday the 5th, that's when we have this lunar eclipse, full moon, lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Again, 12:34 p.m. is when it's exact. It's exact at 14 degrees and 58 minutes of Scorpio, so 15 degrees. So if you have planets or points that are close to this degree of Scorpio, or where the sun's going to be, those degrees of Taurus, you're going to feel personally affected by this lunar eclipse. I'm interested in this because my Neptune, which is the psychic radar planet, is at 15 degrees of Scorpio. So I'm interested to know what I'm going to receive psychically on that day. Should be a great day to get a reading with me. If you want to schedule a reading, schedule it for Friday. I should be on like Donkey Kong, as a friend used to say. And again, the sun will be conjunct Uranus. So it brings in this surprising thing, as if an eclipse in Scorpio isn't intensive enough, dredging up stuff that we need to see, need to let go of it, secrets being revealed, transformations happening, psychic things showing up, like even, a couple days before and after, dreams could be super vivid around this stuff. I often can't sleep a couple days around the full moons. Like I get to where I just can't even sleep for a couple days before, on the night of the full moon, sometimes afterwards, like, okay, I'm just going to hang up trying to sleep. Like, I don't know. That's one of the ways it can affect me. Because the moon represents our intuition, our emotional self. The full moon will also be trining Mars, this in Cancer. So we could get insights into how to take action in ways that are important in our lives. The sun will be conjunct Uranus and Mercury retrograde. So we're going to bring all that into this mix with the eclipse. It's like, it's a party. It can feel intensive, very, very intensive. So give yourself space. If you just want to sleep and check out, Mercury retrograde can make us want to sleep, because the mind is like wanting to be offline. We can just want to be checked out. So Pluto retrograde, the eclipse, Mercury retrograde, like if you feel off this week, like take some days off, take some mental health days off and just chill or sleep or nap or read or meditate extra or go for extra long walks. You may need that this week just to ground and center. Grab your stones and crystals and just put them all around you. All right, on Saturday, at 3:03 p.m., the moon moves into Sagittarius, moves in from this deep, dark waters of Scorpio into the fire sign of Sag. Our mind may want to learn new things. We may be exploring new people, places, and things with the moon in Sag over the next weekend. And then the main event that I have on my calendar for next Sunday, the 7th, is that Venus moves into Cancer. So again, the relationship planet moves into one of the most sensitive signs. So that can show up in our relationships. And then it will be quickly also in a relationship with Pluto. I think that'll happen maybe the next day. No, 9:24 a.m. Let's see, when does that happen? I'm looking for the glyph that tells me when Venus will be making an aspect with Pluto. I guess it won't, because it's going to be in a quincunx with Pluto. So that could be a kind of weird thing going on though too. It'll be exactly conjunct my midheaven and squaring my rising sign. So personally, that'll affect me. So this is where it's important to know where your planets and points are when certain things happen. Some people don't feel transits at all because they're not aspects acting an important part or point or planet in their own personal chart, and they like feel it like, well, I don't know, I really didn't feel that. And other planets, if you've got planets or points where these asteroids or the planets are, then you can feel like, why is the universe picking on me? So again, Jupiter in this last degrees of Aries, I just want to speak to that this week because it'll be moving through these last degrees of Aries this week again, and next week as well. It moves into Taurus on the 16th. So Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. So Jupiter expands things, makes things bigger. So did you start new projects like I suggested everyone do when Jupiter moved into Aries at the end of December? It is tripping through Aries really quickly, and it takes about 12 years for Jupiter to go around the entire zodiac. So since the end of last year and all this year, have you been starting new things? Have you been getting new things going? You've got a couple more weeks to go ahead and launch something that you want to last for the next 12 years. Also, that's the positive things, initiating new things, going into new territories, the pioneering spirit. This is Aries, having passion for your life. The downside is impulsivity, rash temper, people with unresolved anger issues. Things are really reaching ahead. So I'm going to be watching, and I'll be talking about this next week, as Jupiter crosses over the 29-degree point, which will happen just before it moves into Taurus on the 16th. The couple days before that, watch it, because that's where it'll go back over the eclipse point that we just had, which is also where Mars was when January 6th of 2021 happened. So I'm expecting events to culminate and come to a head that are connected into both of these events as Jupiter crosses over that. But that won't be this week, but it can be dredging up people with unresolved anger issues. Jupiter makes things bigger. So if you have unresolved anger stuff, it can bring that to a head. If you have enthusiastic passion for something new, it can give you extra good luck and benefits around that. So make a list of the things you want to clear out and release so you can let them go underneath this full moon solar eclipse. It's a great time to write down on the list of the things you want to let go of in your life, clear out. Again, great time to clear out your cabinets, your closets, your garage, whatever, your drawers. Clear out the clutter in your life, because then you'd be in rhythm with the powerful changes that are going on right now. So that's what I have for this week on tap. Hope you have a good one. Let me know if you want a private session. I've got the links to my website where you can find out more information about all my private work, as well as how to contact me, and then my email as well is below. All right. Have a great week. Peace.